Our hen house is a squawking house. Our hen house is their hen house. Our hen house, ooh, it's a funky fresh house. Our hen house is your hen house.
Hello and welcome to Our Hen House, a place to find our way to change the world for animals. Joining us today will be Victoria Moran, a best-selling author, a living well guru, and the founder of the Main Street Vegan Academy.
Then we'll be joined by Jenné Claiborne, who definitely knows how to make healthy food delicious. She's going to be showing us how she makes a knockout meal using just a few ingredients. And the product is yummy, nutritious, and easy for even busy people to prepare.
It smells so good in the studio
does.
today, and I hear she will be preparing a sweet treat for us to try, and I'm so excited about today's guests. But to start us off, we're going to chat a bit about what's been going on with animals and with us, since we are, after all, animals. So please, pull up some hay. Let's get squawking. Hello, Marianne.
Hello, Jasmine.
How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mother's Day is coming up.
It is indeed.
Very
Mother's
soon.
Day. Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
What does ready mean?
Like, have you bought your mother a present?
I have.
Okay.
I have indeed. I ordered my mother a book because she was on the phone with me and she said, I wanted to get this book and it was $35 used. And I said, what was the book, Mom? And she told me and I ordered it. I'm a good daughter. And
Well, that was a good idea.
yeah. No, I think it's an interesting thing because I usually have no idea what to get people. You're a good gift getter, but I'm just a terrible.
I'm a good gift getter?
Yeah, you get people good gifts.
Well, that's nice to know.
No, your mother, who's not with us anymore, you told me that she thought Mother's Day was a whole bunch of...
she thought it was a crock.
That she thought it was a bunch of...
She would never have used the word crock, but she thought it was a crock, yeah. She thought it was just a made-up holiday so that people could sell cards and presents.
So did she want cards and
yeah,
presents?
she did. I guess she figured as long as everybody else was getting them, she might as well get them too, but she thought it was stupid.
I think she's a smart lady.
I think she had a point.
Well, I mean, I think that she definitely had a point.
I've heard a lot of people say, I mean, I don't have kids myself, so I can't say for me, but a lot of people say that for them, even when they have children, Mother's Day is always about their mother.
Oh.
It's not about like their kids giving them things. It's about like either their mother is still there, and it's about celebrating that, or it's about being sad because their mother is gone. But it's about their mother, not
being a mother.
Being a mother. Yeah.
Well, my mother, who you were just mentioning, she's lovely, and I feel like mentioning her because she's one of those people who I, as an animal advocate, like to remember the moment she said to me, I will never go vegan, which was over 10 years ago, and she's been vegan for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And,
there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah. And
people think it's a lot harder than it is.
My mother is
I don't.
a passionate animal advocate.
She is. She's much tougher than you or I. She doesn't let people off the hook.
No, never, ever. And my
not that I let people off the hook, but
my mother's very outspoken about it, and my grandmother was also so very important in our little circle. My grandmother, unfortunately, this is our first Mother's Day without her. She passed away in November. But what I think about when I think of Mother's Day is her and her conviction, and the fact that she passed away at 89 and a half, and she went vegetarian at 86.
Yeah, that's pretty inspiring.
I
think that has inspired a lot of people.
It has, and she wrote an article about it. It's called Never Too Late to Change the World, and you could find it at Our Hen House. And her essay is in a new book that's called Never Too Late to Go Vegan, which is about how you could go vegan at any age.
I think way too many people think, oh, well, I would have gone vegan if I'd found out about this like when I was 20, but what's the point now? Which is crazy. I mean, not only is it crazy because this is the only life you've got. You don't get to do a do-over, so you might as well do it right now. And also the health reasons. They get even stronger as you get older.
Well, I feel like you get to a certain point in life where you kind of go down one way of being like kind of stubborn and closed-minded, or you go the other way of being like open-minded and understanding that you're in the second half of your life, and why not bring on the new opportunity? I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, so I guess you could probably speak to that more than I could, but like, do you think that that's true, that some people become just stubborn and some people become more open-minded?
I don't know. Like, this seems like it's more than 2 ways to go as you get older.
The reason you don't know is
because I was vegan when I was like in my 40s. I mean, that's pretty late. Most people should manage to do it before then. I was slow.
Yeah, well, but you did it. And,
I did.
And, you know, it's nice to think about mothers around Mother's Day. I guess that's why they made it. And it's a loaded holiday for a lot of animal advocates because it can bring up some very tough issues. There's a lot of exploitation of mothers when you're talking about farm-to-animal issues.
People don't even realize that this issue exists. Yeah. It's bizarre, but it's very deep, and it's very important that people realize. Dairy and eggs.
Dairy and eggs, yeah. It's kind of probably the two of the biggest exploitations of the female reproductive organs of farmed animals are in the dairy and egg industries. And, you know, this is something that I'm sure we'll be talking about frequently on the show, but I think we should focus on dairy today because talking about both of them together
is too much.
It's a little too heavy, but of course with the dairy industry, it makes me think of the strong anti-veal movement that I think was popularized in the 70s. As I mentioned, I was only born at the tail end of it, so I don't remember it. I was precocious, but not that precocious. You probably remember it more.
I remember people always talked about veal, and you know there were always these ads in the back of magazines about veal, and you know of course the little babies are raised in these tiny crates, and it seemed to be an issue of confinement of farm animals that people were much more sensitized to earlier than other farm animals who were just as cruelly confined.
Well,
but it was veal that really reached public consciousness.
Yeah, it became like, you know, I would never have it. It became just popularized that way. No, I find it so interesting because you can't have veal without having dairy, and you can't have dairy without having veal.
Veal, I mean, exists only because it's a byproduct of dairy. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be veal. Dairy cows produce young, and they have to get rid of the males because they're not worth raising for beef by and large. So they turn them into veal, and they put them in these little crates and don't allow them to move because that would make their flesh get darker, and dark flesh is not considered desirable in veal. And then they feed them a diet that's low in iron, so they become anemic because that also keeps their flesh white. And then after about 4 months they kill them. But the whole reason they exist is because this is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I totally own up to this. It never occurred to me.
Me neither.
That dairy cows had to have babies in order to produce milk.
Like us.
Just like every other mammal on the planet.
Right, we produce milk and you know, this is my universal sign of we produce milk for our own species. And it's so interesting that of course that's the case. Of course it's the case. So you have to have a baby if you're going to be producing milk, and the baby is taken away.
I remember when I was a kid, you know, they would say things like, oh, well, we have to milk them or they'll suffer. Right. You know, they cry if they, well, of course, yeah. I mean, but the reason that they're producing all that milk and they have to be milked is because they had a baby who was taken away from them, who's not drinking their milk, so somebody else has to take it, and so we get to have it. It's just a horrible industry. It's so exploitative.
Yeah, and people don't know that cows and their babies generally are separated at birth, and the mothers bellow. They bellow for their babies. So even though they're extremely maternal animals, cows don't even get to know their babies at all. That's one of the reasons we think of them on Mother's Day. And if they're male, as you mentioned, those babies generally don't live long. But if they're very, very, very lucky, maybe one in a few million or so, they might find another mom.
Instead of being turned into veal.
Right, and this is where this video from Farm Sanctuary comes in. It reminds us that mothers can come in all shapes and sizes and species, and definitely don't always have to be women. I love this video.
End of June.
End of June.
You were late to Autry because I had to tell everybody at Autry, Larry's going to be late. He's not going to be here till tomorrow because Larry had a cow.
Yeah, because the guy was getting ready to hit him with a sledgehammer, you know. I said, no, don't do that. You can't do that. So I took him, you know. I've had him from the time he was 3 days old until now.
On January 3rd, we got an email from one of our members who has a friend who lives out in the country and is not really like a vegan or a vegetarian at all, but had rescued a calf. He'd gotten the calf because he had a friend who has a dairy, and he went to the dairy one day and Billy was born. And Billy was a boy. And in the dairy industry, the boy calves are worth nothing. So in this case, the dairy farmer in question was going to take a hammer and he was going to kill Billy. So the man who saved him, Larry, stepped in and rescued him and said, he would take him and he would take care of him. So he took him home and basically raised him almost like you would raise like a companion animal, like a dog. Billy has a tendency to buck and frolic and play because Larry played with him all the time. And it was really interesting because when you're with animal rights people all the time and when you're with, people that are doing this for a living, we all obviously want to save them and we understand it, but this is somebody that isn't part of this movement and still formed this bond or this connection with this one specific animal. And in the end, it turned out he couldn't take care of him, so he agreed to let him, go to a sanctuary. It's just a very happy ending. Billy represents somebody seeing him and seeing who he was and not seeing him as just a byproduct of the dairy industry, but a real individual in a life.
That video is so sweet.
I love it.
Oh my God.
So
but
nice.
it doesn't show, of course, what happened to Billy's birth mom.
Yeah.
Which was pretty horrible. I mean, undoubtedly pretty horrible because dairy cows do not have it good.
No.
They really don't. I mean, in the first place, their babies are taken away from them at birth. And if you ever see film of this, it is deeply heartbreaking. I mean, they drag the babies away right after they're born. And cows are incredibly maternal animals. I mean, they of all of their, most of their vocalizations, they have a number of different vocalizations. Most of them have to do with being able to locate their baby in the herd, and it's between mother and baby. They're just incredibly maternal, and of course, their babies are taken away from them at birth. And then they have a baby every year, because in order to maximize milk production, they have to have a baby every year. And unlike humans, they will lactate throughout their pregnancy. So the most efficient production method is to have them have a baby every year, have the baby taken away at birth, and then they're just tied up to machines to be milked. And in some places, actually, they're grazed. Sometimes you see them out on the fields, but in many places now, they're not grazed anymore. They spend their lives in these dry lot dairies where they're kept inside all the time. They never go outside. That's their life. And then every single year, they get pregnant, they have a baby, and their hearts break as their baby is taken away.
Well, there is awareness being raised about these issues, though. I mean, I think people are probably learning more about it than they used to. That's why people who get exposed to, vegan outreach type of campaigns tend to be going vegan now, whereas when I went vegan or when you went vegan, more people were turning vegetarian, which you were for many years and I was for many years. And now I think more and more people are learning about the dairy industry. And one organization that is talking about the dairy industry, especially around Mother's Day, is Liberation BC, which is over in Canada, in British Columbia. And the Cow Ribbon campaign is one of their major campaigns around Mother's Day, and they have these e-cards that they offer. So if you're watching this, you should go to cowribbon.com because they have these wonderful, beautiful e-cards that also educate people about these issues, and they even sell these little ribbons that we've seen these little ribbons, the pink ones for breast cancer, the red ones for AIDS awareness, while the cow ones raise awareness about this. So it
really is a matter of raising awareness. People are totally unaware of how cruel the dairy industry is. It's just something that people are completely blank about. And if they knew, I think they would feel very differently.
Well, yeah, and it actually seems so bizarre that people still drink dairy milk when there are so many other delicious milks to choose from. And, I guess there are people who just drink dairy milk, but the other day I looked in our fridge and I saw, let's see, oat milk and hemp milk and flax milk and soy milk and rice milk and almond milk and quinoa milk. And I feel like that scene in Forrest Gump where he's talking about the different kinds of shrimps, but this is like like, so not shrimp. Like, this is so not shrimp.
Where did that analogy come
Because, you know,
from?
he just kept going on, like, there's this shrimp and that shrimp and this shrimp.
I don't
well,
really
this
remember
is
that.
like...
I hated that movie.
You're the only one on earth that hated that movie. I think
Well,
it's
you're talking
weird.
about eating shrimp. It's gross.
Well, yeah, well, that's true. But the good non-oppressive
Can we
side
get
of
back to
that
milk?
is milk. There's so many different types of
we do not
plant-based
have
milk.
all of those milks in our refrigerator
We have
at the same
many
time.
in the cabinet.
What's your favorite?
I'll say cashew milk. Yeah. What about you? You can't have the same as me.
I have to say I like oat milk a lot.
Oat milk, really?
Oat milk is very sweet.
It is sweet. There's a natural sweetness. But, okay, wait. I
don't actually, I've never, did you ever used to drink milk when you were a
Yes,
kid?
of course.
I thought it
Ew.
was disgusting.
We used to have it in this glass red kind of, it almost looked like a vase, but it was a glass. And we used to pour milk in. No matter what we were eating, we were told we had to. It was the 80s. And I
know,
think
I was told I had to. And you got it at school in that little carton, and half the time it wasn't really that cold anymore. You eat it with those little crackers.
That's so disgusting.
It was gross.
Oh, yeah, well, it's true. It was gross, but I want to actually take back my answer about cashew milk and say that my favorite kind of milk that I make is my own homemade macadamia mulberry milk.
I'm with you. That's like the best milk I've ever tasted.
Macadamia mulberry. Just saying.
Macadamia milk is really easy to make too.
Because you don't need to strain it. I'm like, we should have a milk making segment here, but
yeah,
there's just
now we're turning into those vegans.
Honey, we turned into those vegans long ago. Long ago. On episode 3, we were discussing ants. Like not aunts and uncles, but
now
like
we're talking
ants.
about
Now we're talking
making macadamia mulberry milk. Yeah,
we're there, and we've already gone through.
We're fulfilling everybody's expectations.
We show fuzzy kitten videos, which I think we're going to be showing later. But you know, it's Mother's Day, and we think of our darling Rose, our dog, who was rescued after weaning dogs, and so she had been a mother. There's just let's broaden our scope of how we think of mothers this Mother's Day. And speaking of mothers, our next guest is a fantastic one who just so happened to raise her daughter vegan. And in addition to being an all-star in the mother department, Victoria Moran is the best-selling author of 11 books, including Creating a Charmed Life, which has been translated into 30 languages around the world, and the plant-based weight loss classic, The Love-Powered Diet, as well as the hugely influential Main Street Vegan. Victoria is also a vegan lifestyle coach and the founder and director of Main Street Vegan Academy, an incredible program that trains and certifies vegan lifestyle coaches. She's amazing.
She really is.
Yeah.
And we're very eager to have you hear all that this remarkable woman has to say, and she is a remarkable woman. But before she joins us, in honor of Mother's Day, we want to revisit a story we told you about a few weeks ago, which you are dying to revisit, I can assure you. Do you remember the kittens?
Do I remember the kittens? How could I forget the kittens? The kittens. We're people who show fuzzy kitten videos on our show. That's what we do.
Yes, a few weeks ago we actually did go there and showed you some cute fuzzy kitten videos because why not?
Exactly. Why not?
We know how to sell television.
We know how to bring viewers in.
We were actually showing you some footage from some friends of ours, Carrie Cronin and Laurie Morrison, up in Canada, and they had rescued a pregnant cat. And after the cat gave birth, Carrie and Laurie documented the beginning of the kittens' lives on their Facebook page.
Hours of my life have been lost, by the way, thanks to their videos.
Along with thousands of others.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. We are smitten with the kittens, totally smitten. And as Victoria is getting mic'd up, let's take a quick look at a video because we can't not do this. Let's look at a little update about these kittens and their beautiful mom. House TV show, we like to show fuzzy kittens whenever and however possible. And it's a tough act to follow, Victoria, but I think you can rise to the occasion. Welcome to our Hen House.
Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you, and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you as you mother all these animal rights activists around the world.
Well, that was well said. But
Yes.
Victoria, you actually are quite an amazing mama hen. And you are the author, of course, of Main Street Vegan, but you also have raised a fantastic vegan daughter, right? You raised a dare vegan?
I did, yeah. When she was an infant, I got rid of the dairy products and the eggs and have never looked back. And
Wow.
she's doing great. She's a stunt performer and a wildlife rehabilitator.
Wow.
So we've got the whole health and vitality and the animal rights aspect of being vegan.
Really, she puts it all together.
It's all together.
And how long have you been vegan?
30 years.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So the climate has certainly changed in the last 30 years. What was it like becoming vegan 30 years ago?
Well, it was weird. We lived in a suburb of Chicago, Wheaton, Illinois, and I found just not long ago, going through old photo albums, that the local paper did a story about us, you know, the vegan family. And that wouldn't happen today.
Well, people didn't think you could survive.
No, it was quite spectacular.
Yeah.
And I do remember we had a home birth as well. And, you know, I always talked about it, having a home birth, we're going to do this vegan thing. And they sent a social worker just to make sure that, everything was going to be good. Had to check on the strange
what
people.
motivated you? Did you know other people who were vegan? Did you come up with this idea on your own?
No, I knew Jay and Freya Dinshaw of the American Vegan Society. I'd actually discovered them many years earlier when I first went vegetarian, and I wanted to be vegan, but I was a practicing compulsive overeater. And it's just very hard, especially it was very hard in 1983, to go into the 7-Eleven to do an eating binge and read all those labels. So it was a struggle for me for several years, but Jay and Freya Dinshaw, and I just encourage everybody to look up the American Vegan Society, join the American Vegan Society, because they started that in 1960.
That's crazy.
The first season of Mad Men. And so they were really, they never let me go, and they just held my hand till I was able to make the transition.
And you really have made the transition, and now you've gone on to make so many people get the light turned on about veganism, about animal rights, and about so many other issues of self-care and social justice. And I know that Marianne was actually a fan of yours and your books long before she was even involved in animal rights.
I'm so starstruck having Victoria here, because your books inspired me. Fit from Within was the first of your books that I read, and it just completely inspired me, and they continue to do so.
Well, let's talk about...
I remember I bought that book and I read it, and I bought it for my sister.
Well, that is saying something.
Yeah.
Because Marianne doesn't...
it was so good.
Yeah. You only give your sister the things that you think absolutely are life-changing.
But I remember that book, it talked about a vegetarian or vegan eating, but didn't really focus on it. But in Main Street Vegan, you've really definitely focused on it. What brought that about?
Well, my very first book, Compassion, the Ultimate Ethic, was actually my college thesis, and I believe it was the first book about vegan philosophy and practice to ever be published by a publishing house. The Vegan Society in England had books, the American Vegan Society, but to actually come from a publisher, it was Compassion. And so I did that, and then I did The Love-Powered Diet, which is a weight loss book because I got over a day at a time, the compulsive eating thing, and that was veganism and the interchange that led to the weight loss. And then I did one called Get the Fat Out, which was when the low-fat thing was coming up in the 90s. You know, these diet trends kind of come and then they go. And then I thought, I've said everything I can say about veganism and food, so I got more into kind of spirituality and that, still being vegan in my own life. But Main Street Vegan, I was inspired to write. I went to a PETA fundraiser. I watched video clips, the same kind of clips I'd been seeing for 40 years. But sometimes your heart is more open than other times. And I sat in the subway and just saying to God, why can't I go give somebody $100,000 to make things better? And God said, okay, you can write a book.
Oh, well, that's an incredible story. But Main Street Vegan is on our list of when we tell people like what resources they absolutely need to not only have for themselves if they're longtime vegans like we are, but also for people in our lives who might be just kind of veg curious, we like to say. So tell our viewers about Main Street Vegan.
It's 40 little chapters because people don't have a lot of patience.
Time.
And There's a recipe at the end of each chapter. I'd not put recipes in a book before, but it was sort of all this inspiration that came to do the book, that people are going to want a recipe that kind of explains a little bit about the chapter. And I believe it covers absolutely every question that anybody would ask. Veg News called it the Vegan Bible because he said it covers everything, and that was very gratifying.
Was it always called Main Street Vegan?
My inspiration in the subway was I'm supposed to write this book and call it Main Street Vegan. And so I was sort of taking notes, yes, this is all what I'll do. And the publisher, the day after they bought it, said, oh, by the way, we don't like Main Street. It sounds like the Tea Party. And that was such a shock to me because I knew it was supposed to be called that, but there was nothing I could do except go on, try to find another title. And then I had a miracle, which happens, I believe, sometimes, not as often as I wish it did in this work for animals. My husband and I are walking up Broadway, and we saw somebody so famous that you can recognize him from the back, and that was Michael Moore. And I gave my card to the woman who was with him because I knew he'd liked Fit From Within, actually. The book that you read, he'd written a review of it in Oprah's magazine. And 10 seconds later, I hear Victoria, and Michael Moore is following me up the street and said, we need to talk about food. So we're talking about food. And I said, this book I'm writing is supposed to be called Main Street Vegan. They hate the title. He said, it's a perfect title. Let me talk to them. So it was a three-way call with my editor, Michael Moore, and me that got this title.
Wow, good for Michael.
That's
he knows a good
so
title
great.
when he hears one.
It's true. It's true.
You know, one of the things I like about the title, I mean, is that this is something that should be on Main Street. I mean, that it's everybody's possibility and everybody's potential diet. It's not an elitist diet.
It's not. And I think it's so important to recognize that all of our fellow humans have arteries that don't need to be clogged up, and that also have a heart that can open to the animals. You know, whatever we agree or disagree with somebody about on another issue, those two things are facts, and I want to reach everybody. If they don't want the message, okay, but I don't want them to say, well, I never heard.
Well, another part of your story that I think is so funny about the title is that it was Main Street that they originally didn't like, not vegan.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's so great. We know somebody actually who wrote a cookbook, and she originally pitched the cookbook as, you know, something plant-based, and she heard back from her editors, and they said, we want vegan in it. Vegan's what people are talking about.
Exactly.
And you've been vegan for 30 years, and you have an adult daughter who is a very passionate animal advocate and a vegan. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us your take on the word vegan and the rise of veganism in the media.
I think that everybody who's not vegan is very happy with the word, but there are a lot of people who eat this way or who almost eat this way who don't want to use the word. And so there's, you know, the plant-based and the plant-strong and all these other kinds of things. And I just want to say, you know, if you're vegan, you can be vegan because people understand it. And to me, a term like plant-based doesn't really mean anything. My daughter, when she first heard it, said, well, that sounds like somebody who eats a lot of salad and smokes a lot of pot. What does this mean, plant-based? So I think that since people finally get it, we just need to be shouting it from the housetops. And when you see things like at my local supermarket in Harlem, a display of dates with big green stickers that say vegan. I mean, it's a fruit. It's always been vegan, but now it's a marketing ploy. Yeah. We've got to go with that.
Yeah. So it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing.
That's so interesting. How about, I know that in your book you talk a lot about kind of debunking myths and how to respond to certain things. What about people who say that it's incredibly elite to be vegan? How would you respond to that?
I don't even understand it because one of the reasons that people used to do this in the old days was to save money. And there's some people, some Mennonites and some Quakers, who take it up as part of their peace testimony, their simplicity testimony, to be in solidarity with people who don't have all kinds of choices about food. They choose to eat simply, get rid of the animal products, eat more whole foods. So when people say it's elitist, I just think that's a strange, funky argument that I don't relate to.
I think it's because they think that all vegans eat are these manufactured vegan foods that are substitutes for meat, and which I think there's nothing wrong with, but that's not really the basis of most people's vegan diets.
Yeah.
And even some of the local organic food, I know I was blogging for a while, and it was summertime. My husband really likes tomatoes, and I was talking a lot about heirloom tomatoes, and people were writing comments saying, heirloom tomatoes are expensive and you shouldn't be writing about them. It's like, it's not a yacht, it's a tomato. Because, you know, we all pick and choose. There are certain things that I don't do, so I can afford a nice tomato.
I can afford a nice tomato. Well, tell us about Main Street Vegan Academy.
Ah, that's so exciting to me.
Exciting to us as well.
My baby. Well, as soon as I got the book title, it was just like all these other ideas started to pop. And the one that has really done the most so far is Main Street Vegan Academy, which is a training program for vegan lifestyle coaches and educators. So it's not a place for people to come to learn how to be vegan. It's a place where vegans come to learn how to get the message out into the world. We have fabulous instructors, including the two of you. So
We're
honored.
we're honored to be part of it. It's always so, you get great students.
They're fascinating people. It's really amazing to me how they find it. My favorite way that people have found it, there is a movie called Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's kind of a cult movie for teenage boys. And this
I'm now relieved that I hadn't
know,
heard of
it's
it, because
like-
I was like, uh-oh.
Well, there's a line in it that says, and where do the vegans get their superpowers? And the character says, they go to the Vegan Academy. And this woman Googled Vegan Academy.
No way!
Isn't that great?
That's
so
hilarious.
And so they learn the basics of vegan nutrition. We have Dr. Ostfeld, who I know has appeared on your podcast about health and heart disease, and animal rights, but also about how to make it a business. So people have gone out into the world. They're now coaching. They're writing books. Two of them have books from actual publishers.
Wow.
One is becoming a spokesperson for a major company. One woman has a vegan ice cream store.
Amazing.
One has a vegan cowboy boot company.
Come on.
Kick Butt Boots.
I am in.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
from Dallas, and
I'm
you
in.
got to have cowboy boots in Dallas. And if you're vegan, they got to be vegan. And
Right.
she
They're
didn't-
actually vegan rescued cowboy boots. That was a funny
I
anecdote.
love that recipe.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
TM,
I didn't
trademark.
laugh at your joke.
No, you didn't laugh at my joke, but Victoria did, and it's Mother's Day. I have no
sorry.
idea what that has to do
I'm
with
sorry.
anything, but she's a mother. I feel validated. Anyway, go on.
You know, I'm wondering, when your students come, my experience has been that even the students who come to your academy still don't know a lot about what's going on with animals. Do you feel that that's true? That even people who are there, it's so hidden?
Yes. Well, we do something every morning at the beginning, after breakfast and before class, called Veg Trivia. And I just kind of get a sense of what everybody knows. And what I find is they know a lot about food. There is a lot of food information out there, and they know a lot about nutrition. They know something about animal issues, not in detail, but they're pretty good on that. Where I find that the people who come are falling short is the history of this movement. They don't know where we came from. So many people who have even taken up the banner for this think it started with PETA in the 70s, not knowing that there is a long, I mean, some people would say veganism, yeah, that goes back to Eden, but what's happened between then and now, quite a bit. So that's one of the ones, and we did lose our wonderful instructor, Rin Berry, who used to teach that class. So I've started teaching it, and I just keep learning more and more. There have been people throughout history who have had this sense that we don't need to kill to eat, and sharing that message, so we need to know about them.
It's so amazing. It's such an important resource. And just tell us very briefly about, you have a new book? You have a new book? Yet another one? I hope. I want another one.
Thank you. I'm working on number 12. Yeah.
I'm working on number 1. I don't even know how I'm going to get this.
Well, they're all difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, writing, we talk about birthing. Writing is birthing, and it's not easy, but I'm very excited. It's called The Good Karma Diet, and my own subtitle, which might change, is Eat Nice, Be Happy.
Nice.
Because people do weird things with food to be happy. Okay, I feel bad. I'm going to eat a monster cookie. Oh, I feel bad about my body. I'm going to go on some terrible diet. Why not get rid of the middleman and just live and eat in a way that makes us happy? So that's the good karma
I love
diet.
it. I'm so excited about it. I'm so
Food
excited
is so
about
many people's
you.
enemy.
Yeah. Why?
We need to make it a friend.
It doesn't need to be our enemy. Victoria, thank you so much for everything you do to change the world for animals. And I hope you'll stick with us for our next segment. We have Jenné Claiborne coming up, and we could use your help.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah, great. Well, we are so excited that Victoria joined us, and we're just so grateful to you for all you're doing. And you can actually learn more about Main Street Vegan Academy at mainstreetvegan.net. And Victoria, I'm so glad you're going to stick around for Jenné Claiborne. Jenné is a holistic health counselor and the founder of The Nourishing Vegan, and she also blogs at sweetpotatosoul.com. In just a moment, she's going to show us how easy and delicious veganism can be.
And what I'm particularly excited about for this next segment is the fact that I am usually way too busy to cook or prepare food.
You are. She is.
Well, it's just a lot of work. And Jenné has very simple solutions for people like me who love to eat healthy vegan food. And a lot of it.
A lot.
I do.
You do.
I like to eat a lot of it.
We have hefty appetites.
But I don't always have the time to prepare it.
No, well, it's true. And
people think that to eat healthy, you have to put a lot of time into it.
But that's not true.
It's
I think
not
that's what
true.
Jenné is going to be talking about. And as she's setting up, let's take a look at this totally adorable video that Jenné made with her Nana, where she offered a new take on an old favorite.
Hey Nana, what are you making?
Hi, Jenné. Your Aunt Anna is coming to visit me.
Yeah?
And I'm making her favorite, sweet potato pie.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah, only thing I can't have any of it.
Why not?
Because I have high cholesterol,
Oh.
high blood pressure, so that leaves me out.
Well, Nana, you can always make it vegan.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay. I'm gonna put butter in there.
Well, yeah, but you could use vegan butter, Earth Balance. It's a blend of oils, plant oils, and it works the same as dairy butter.
Oh, what about my milk?
Well, instead of using your normal dairy milk, you could use almond milk. Or you could even use soy milk or coconut milk. There's a lot of non-dairy milks that you could use too.
Okay. What about my egg?
You can even have a substitute for egg. You can use silken tofu in the pie. It's gonna taste so good, and it'll help the pie hold together as like your chicken egg would.
Oh, and may I use all my cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla, all my spices?
Yeah, because these aren't animal products anyway, and they can still be used. They're healthy.
Oh, great. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll show you how.
Okay. Just gonna pour a little. That looks yummy already.
Yes.
Yeah, now I'm gonna put just a little nutmeg on top before we put it in the oven.
Okay. You're so sweet, Nana.
It's right there.
Here, Nana. Looks nice.
Jenné, this is the most important part.
I know, so you have to tell me whether or not this vegan one lives up to your non-vegan sweet potato pie. All right, Nana.
Thank you, Jenné.
You're welcome.
Fantastic.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Let me try it. Pretty good. Pretty good. So, you can have this totally 100% cholesterol free.
Great. Great. I can't wait. Matter of fact, I'm going to have another piece right now.
I'm going to cut my own piece.
Oh.
You have that.
This is what's called having fun, Jenné.
Oh. I was wondering what that was.
how much do we love Nana? Oh my God.
She's adorable.
I know.
You know, Jenné sent us a whole bunch of videos, and they were all fantastic because Jenné is fantastic. But as soon as we got to Nana's video, I mean, you were completely upstaged by her, I have to admit.
I know.
But
That's why I sent you that one.
it's a very good video, and welcome to our Hen House, Jenné.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you. You have so many important words of wisdom to offer to us today. And as we were just talking about, Marianne is lovely, but doesn't always spend time in the kitchen.
And that's okay.
And that's okay,
Yeah.
unless you're her wife, in which case you want her to spend more time in the kitchen. So I'm hoping by the end of today's segment,
Well, if I didn't have to work so hard, I would spend more time in the kitchen.
Well, one thing that Jenné
And
is...
if I found out more simple things to cook, I might spend more time in the kitchen.
And that's what Jenné is going to be talking to us about today.
That's right.
So Jenné, let's start with what you might make if you didn't have a whole lot of time, or if you just have a busy life, which I know you do, and you want to have a delicious, healthy dinner, let's say.
Well, that's the key. You want to keep it healthy, too.
Exactly. And delicious.
Right.
So
I'm all about delicious.
Exactly. Now, I'm not willing to sacrifice on taste or health. And it's wonderful because you can have both. So what I like to eat is these Buddha bowls, or grain, rice, vegetable bowls. The Buddha bowl is really lovely because it usually has some sort of fermented vegetable. So I'm using kimchi and then some healthy fat like tahini. It also has grains, legumes. I like to add the sweet potato because I'm sweet potato soul.
Yes.
And then a green, non-starchy green vegetable. And that's basically it. And all the flavor comes from, the kimchi and the tahini. You can add whatever other spices that you want on top of that, too.
So were you saying before that this is actually a bunch of food that you don't necessarily have to prepare right before you eat? Can you
exactly.
explain?
That's what makes it so much easier. So at the beginning of the week, I make a large portion of grains. I make quinoa and brown or black rice. This is actually black rice. It's a little healthier. But yeah, I make a bunch of grains and legumes. So lentils, beans, or I always keep canned beans in case I don't feel like cooking them. And then, it's just so much easier to just pull it out and just put together a meal. Those are already cooked, and then you can steam some broccoli. That takes 5 minutes.
Something that's I'm being reminded of is that when we speak at the Main Street Vegan Academy, Victoria, you make a lot of the food for your students, which is a nice perk.
Yeah.
And I know that I see this incredible, amazing spread, and I think, how do you have time to do it and do that? Are some of these tips that Jenné is talking about things that resonate with you?
Yeah, and it's going to get a whole lot easier because I'm going to get this 5-ingredient vegan book.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is the 5-ingredient vegan?
Oh, well, so it's an ebook that I'm putting together, and it's actually five of my favorite ingredients. Also things that people aren't necessarily very comfortable with preparing. Tempeh, chia seeds, sweet potatoes, I just had to throw that in, collard greens, and tahini. Because, oftentimes people will buy tahini and they use it for one recipe, and then it's in their fridge for 2 years before they throw it out. That's not necessary. All these foods are very versatile also. So there are those 5 top main ingredients, and then 5 recipes for each of the ingredients with just 5 ingredients in them. Yeah, so 5, 5, 5, basically.
Did you ever get a cookbook and you're looking through it and you have no idea how to pronounce half the then halfway through the recipe list it says turn to page 25 to make that.
I know.
And
That's common.
I never ever do that. So your new ebook is talking about that you could actually eat well this way. So these are all things that you made in advance then?
Yes.
Like just
How
Sunday
far in
night.
advance can you make the grains and the legumes? Or how long will they last?
These last about 5-6 days.
Can you show us what the bowl would look like?
Of course.
Okay.
So I have my favorite bowl from home here, and so I usually put my grain in first. It's kind of at the bottom.
I hear the darker the grain, the healthier it is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I went with the black rice. Also red rice, brown rice, all good. But there's a lot of phytonutrients in the color. So black is good. I'm doing lentils today just because yesterday I had chickpeas and I like to vary it up. So some lentils. And lentils are so easy to cook. You don't have to soak them overnight. They take about 30 minutes to cook.
Well, and you just mentioned that you had chickpeas yesterday. It really blows my mind how many beans there are out there.
I know, right?
There's millions.
And we were
So
talking
many.
earlier about eating on a budget and beans and other dried foods are a great way to do that.
Exactly. They're so inexpensive.
Well,
They're
they
so
swell
versatile.
up, so you get more than you
Yeah.
pay for.
Oh, for sure, right? A pound of dry beans is like a week's worth for 2 people. So.
Yeah.
not
Okay, so we
bad.
have our grains and we have our beans.
Yes, and it is very important in my Well, if you want to eat healthy, it's very important to have your non-starchy green vegetables. And I know you all know about that. So I'm doing broccoli today because yesterday I made a similar thing and I actually used Swiss chard. The broccoli, it takes 5 minutes to steam. Yes.
Do you ever use frozen or do you only use fresh?
I usually just use fresh. For the other greens, like at Whole Foods, they've got a greens frozen mix, and it's got collards and kale and mustard. So I buy that. I always keep that in the freezer just in case.
Yeah,
just
that's what we do too, because then you
Yeah.
always have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you really don't have any excuse to not be eating your greens if you can just pull out a frozen. So that's good too. And then sweet potato is nice because it's healthy. You've got more protein in this. If everybody wants to know about the protein.
Right.
So this is a really
clearly we're protein deprived.
I know, right?
We're all
Clearly we're
wasting away over here on your
right.
stage. Please help me.
I know, right?
Give me my protein. Victoria's been vegan for 30 years.
I know, and look at her.
Yeah, she's
great
willowing
example.
away.
No energy whatsoever.
But you like sweet potatoes because
I love sweet
you
potatoes.
call yourself Sweet Potato Soul, right?
That's right. And I started that blog like 4 years ago just as a hobby. And because I love sweet potatoes, they are my favorite food.
They're fine food.
Yeah, I've already had 2 today. And that was just for like a snack.
Wow.
They're so filling too.
They're so filling.
Yeah.
And you'll see I'm putting them in the cookies that we're going to make also.
We're going to do a future segment about how we eat when we're traveling because we travel so often. But one of our secrets is that when we're at just a random La Quinta Inn or something, which is usually where we stay, we'll go to the grocery store and buy a sweet potato and some salsa and just, usually you get the microwave in the room.
and you
So
just cook it
microwave
like
it,
that.
pop
And
some salsa
even if
on
it's
it.
Great
the most,
idea.
A vegan desert, even if you're in a place that has absolutely nothing, you can definitely always get a sweet potato
Isn't
and
that
salsa.
true?
Okay,
I love
so
that.
you have your sweet potato.
Yeah, so this is our base. This is basically...
That's beautiful, Jenné.
Isn't it pretty?
I mean, even that alone.
It already
Yeah.
looks, when she puts it together, it looks so good.
Victoria, you've said that you think that a dish should look like a Christmas tree, right?
Yeah, I
Ooh,
always
I
say
like
kind of
that.
mostly green with splashes of other bright colors to
Yes.
get those phytonutrients.
Exactly.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, good one.
We're gonna
honey.
add some more
Good
color
one.
though. Let's add some kimchi. So
Food of the gods.
Right.
I love me some kimchi.
I love it, and I love my fermented vegetables because they're so healthy, and you get the probiotics to help support your digestion and your immune system, and they taste so good. So I do my kimchi right on top, but then I'm crazy about my healthy fats. So tahini.
So talk about healthy fats a little bit. What
Yes.
constitutes as a healthy fat versus an unhealthy fat?
Well, the way I like to think of it is, typically I like to eat whole foods, so a whole fat, a fat that comes from a whole food source, so not necessarily an extracted oil. Not that I avoid oils completely, but if I'm thinking about healthy fat, I'm thinking nuts, seeds. Tahini is just ground up sesame seeds, basically.
Obsessed.
So those are healthy fats. Avocado.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
We have an issue with tahini.
We do.
Do you?
Yeah.
You go through it so fast?
We have an intimate relationship with tahini.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
just say. We love it. But okay, so you're going to put some
feel
tahini
you.
on that.
I feel you. Yeah.
Now, I have to say, Marianne and I spent some time on the West Coast in Portland, and people there eat bowls quite often. And it's very frequently at restaurants on menus, and
Exactly.
not so much
We
on
don't
the
have
East
enough
Coast.
bowls.
I know. I noticed that in LA. You go to Cafe Gratitude, you get a bowl like this.
That is beautiful.
Isn't
Jenné.
it pretty?
Gorgeous.
Okay,
It's gorgeous.
I want to try a bite of it, and then I want
Yes,
dessert
here's
because
some-
I happen to know that there's cookies in the studio right now.
You know.
Let's just
And if
say, I'm gonna try sweet potato in honor of you, Jenné.
Oh, good. Oh, and by the way, I didn't bring it, but fennel seeds I also love to sprinkle. So the 5-ingredient book, it's that's the base. You can make these 5-ingredient dishes, and they're delicious. But you can also add other things to them. It's really the 5-ingredient book is to help people spend less time in the kitchen and get in the kitchen in the first place, but also give them confidence to make these meals and then add their own flavor on top of that. And
Well,
it still
that's-
doesn't have to take a lot of time.
That's so exciting.
Everybody likes to bring a little creativity to it.
Yeah.
But
totally
I
agree.
don't know how you would improve on this. That's pretty damn good.
Well, I'm
Thank
going
you.
to make sure that nobody takes this because I want to eat this. But
seriously.
so I'm a big dessert person. Do you like dessert?
Sure, of course. Who
Yeah.
doesn't?
Right. Well, and this happened earlier. I saw the kind of by the magic of TV, we have these cookies that you're going to make already made, and I saw them and I said, "Where's the ingredients? Did you forget them?" And you said, "No, they're right
They're
here."
right here.
So tell me what's happening
It's
here.
so simple. Okay, so I came up with these cookies. I don't know how. I just love tahini, so I'm like, you know,
so these
why
are
not throw it in a
tahini
dessert?
cookies,
Yeah, they're tahini and sweet potato.
Okay.
But you know,
They really are Jenné cookies.
Yeah,
aren't
they really are. And I make them all the time. I make them all the time. So what I do is I mix my liquids first, just like, you know, like you would do for a more traditional cookie, I guess. So I'm going to do some of my tahini. If for any reason you run out of tahini, which happens occaasally for me.
Especially when we're in town because we've bought it all.
You just eat it like crazy. You can also use a nut butter. So almond butter or sunflower butter is one that I use at home a lot. But tahini is the best. It is the best. And then you add some maple syrup. You need a liquid sweetener.
Yeah.
So do I. It's my, you know, coconut. I like coconut nectar as well, but it's a little too sticky for this.
I don't think I've ever had coconut nectar.
Oh, you gotta get some.
Oh my.
It's so good.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Oh yeah, pick it up.
Really low glycemic and all they say about it.
That's what they say. That's as far as I know, it is low glycemic. It's got a different flavor than the maple syrup, which is what I do appreciate in these cookies, that maple syrup classic flavor.
And a little bit of vanilla, I guess you add, because vanilla is something that we put into everything, like smoothies, everything.
Ooh, I like that. I love vanilla. Have you ever done vanilla with pineapple?
No.
Put that in a smoothie. I'm telling you.
My life just got this new depth of meaning.
My old boss at Peace Food Cafe introduced me to that, and I'm like, oh.
I love
Peace Food. Such an interesting flavor. Oh yeah, I love Peace Food. So you're just gonna stir up your, you know, your wet ingredients, stir, and then you can just add your sweet potato, you know. We're gonna add some
Is that raw
cinnamon.
sweet potato?
That's raw.
Grated.
It's raw grated.
Okay.
Yep. And then our oats.
No, oats are a fantastic and really multifaceted food.
They are, aren't they?
Again, we put them in smoothies.
Oh, I love it. You have like your meal smoothies,
No
huh?
kidding.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are quick cooking oats. The texture is better in these cookies when you use the quick cooking kind. And then some walnuts as well. And just you want to stir it up and get it all combined. This is very sticky. These are very sticky cookies.
So how long do you cook these for?
Just about 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
So you don't even have to wait that long. 350 degrees.
Well, okay, and by the magic of TV, in TV
10
time,
minutes
10 minutes have passed, and these are the cookies.
That's them.
These are gorgeous.
Spectacular.
Now you can see why I was questioning where all of these ingredients came from, because it's just hard to believe that turns into this.
Right.
Now, may I taste one?
Oh, yes, of course.
Would you like to try?
Oh, and by the way, now this is like the 5-ingredient version, but you can also add chocolate chips. Chocolate chips, and they are
hardly.
So good.
That's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's like
Really good.
so good. This is incredible. Now
It.
we're almost out of time, Jenné. But I just want you to tell us, as I stuff my face with this, like
Another
what
wonderful thing to do with tahini.
I know.
I didn't know there was another thing.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the hardest challenges for people who move to this type of eating, and what tips might you have for people?
I think eat enough food. Some people don't seems like they don't eat enough food because people are so used to having the meat as the main, and then they take that out and they have still a little tiny bit of broccoli on the side, and that's their meal. That's not gonna cut it. You have to eat more food, and like this is a great example. Also, let's see another good tip.
I mean, I think it's true that people don't eat enough food because they think that the side where the parsley is around the side, that's going to make up the whole meal, like the garnish.
The garnish,
Thank you, that's the word, garnish.
Right.
But in fact, we could build our meals around plants.
Precisely. Oh, and another thing that's very important is take advantage of spices. Now, you don't have to like spicy foods, but spices, curry powders and tahinis and kimchis and cumin and whatever. And just make sure your food taste yummy.
And you're a big fan of nutritional yeast.
Oh.
We're in the club.
Of course.
Yeah, nutritional
Love
yeast. Can you explain for any poor souls watching who don't know what that is,
Of
what
course.
nutritional yeast
I actually
is?
just made a video about it. So nutritional yeast is an inactive yeast. So And it has no sugar, but it's actually grown on the surface of molasses. And it's got this delicious cheesy and nutty flavor. And we vegans, we use it, to add that umami, that cheesiness to our meals.
We call it nooch.
Nooch, right? And it's so good on popcorn.
It's great on popcorn. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's just
and
the worst
everything.
named food in the world.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate name.
I think that actually that's not true. I think seitan might be the worst named food.
They might be equal.
Yeah, well, this is so incredible. And there's so much you could do with 5 ingredients, and I hope that you'll come back and do another 5 ingredients with us another time. And in the meantime, we'll definitely stay on top of all you're doing and all you're doing. These are just some fabulous women we have here on our Hen House today.
They brought us some fabulous food.
Well, we can't thank both of you enough, truly, for joining us today in our Hen House, and we can't thank you enough for joining us today in our Hen House. And that's it from us hens today. So thank you so much for joining us here at our Hen House today. And remember, you could find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and on the online Our Hen House magazine, which you could find at ourhenhouse.org. And we look forward to seeing you with a brand new show next week. Now I'm going to eat me some cookie. Yes. Thank you, Jenné. This is so good.
You're welcome.
Jenné, for you.
I'm Marianne Sullivan, and we love dogs, cats, chickens, baboons, badgers.
Okay, I get it. We love animals. What's not to love?
Maybe you've already heard our Hen House, the podcast, about the underexplored world of animal rights. Well, we're coming to TV.
That's right. Every week, we're giving fresh perspectives on what's happening with animals. Whether you're a seasoned vegan, a part-time vegetarian, a fiery social justice activist, or you simply love your dog.
I love my dog.
I love my dog.
She's the same dog.
Of course. We'll challenge you to think differently about our fellow earthlings.
And we'll sample some fabulous food along the way.
Oh, I hope so. That's why I signed up to do this. Anyway, tune into our Hen House on Brooklyn Independent Media.
Let's get squawking.